Hi, Disney Cruise Line? Yes, I would love to book a cruise. 7 nights on the Fantasy. Eastern or Western? Hey y'all, I am so glad that you're here today. My name's Ashley. Welcome to Disney Cruisers on YouTube. I'm assuming since you clicked this video that you're contemplating taking a Disney cruise and wondering, should you do the Eastern itinerary or the Western itinerary? I'm going to tell you a few highlights about each in hopes that it will help you be able to decide which one would be best for you and your family. If this is your first time here, I hope you like what you see and I hope you consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell. At the moment, I am doing a giveaway on my channel. You can click the I button to find that video, or down in the description, I will put the link to that video. If you click those links and the giveaway is over, make sure you still subscribe and hit that bell notification. That way you will get notified every time I post videos, and I'll be doing more giveaways, so then you have a chance to win. If you are already part of our family, give this video a like down below so I know that you're here. And now let's get into the juicy stuff. What's better, Eastern or Western? I definitely have an opinion, and I'm sure that other cruisers have their own opinions as well. So I'm going to kind of give you the basics of the differences between the two, and then I'm going to tell you what I like to go on. Unless you are taking one of the very few Western Caribbean cruises that the Magic does out of Miami like a few times a year, we are mostly talking about the itineraries for the Fantasy out of Port Canaveral. The Fantasy travels 7-day itineraries to either the Western Caribbean or the Eastern Caribbean, and they alternate most of the time back to back. So sometimes it just depends on what your schedule is, and if that's the only week you can go, well then you're going to go wherever the ship takes you, whether it's Western or Eastern. So whether or not it's taking you to the west side of the Caribbean or the east side of the Caribbean, you will stop at Castaway Cay. That is something that is a given. No matter which you choose, you are still going to make it to Castaway, which is always good. You will also see the same shows on the ship, go to the same restaurants on the ship, and have the same activities on the ship. The only thing that's really going to differ are the ports you stop at and how many sea days you have. Let's talk about ports and port adventures. If you are going to take a Western Caribbean cruise, you will find yourself stopping at most of the time, 3 ports. Generally speaking, it is Grand Cayman and Jamaica and Cozumel. These ports have a ton of excursions, to choose from. And I would say that if we're comparing Western to Eastern, the Western ports have a more adventurous type of excursions. This is where you'll find Dun River Falls, where you can walk up the waterfall. There's horseback riding, there's zip lining, all-terrain vehicles, bobsledding, submarine, I don't know what that's called, subbing, I don't know. What do you in a submarine? Submarine subbing, I don't know. But then they do have some more relaxed things like the Martha Brae River excursion, where you go down on a bamboo raft. And you can also find stingray adventures and dolphin encounters. I've done the dolphin encounter at Cozumel and it was a lot of fun. I have done the Martha Brae excursion in Jamaica. Neither of them made me miss the ship. I wasn't like, oh man, I can't believe I paid for this and I'm wasting my ship time doing this. Oh, and I also snorkeled in Cozumel, and that was really fun too. So the Western Caribbean, you have more ports, you stop more, there's more adventurous excursions, which is a great thing, but also kind of on the negative of that is a lot of them don't let little kids attend these excursions. Disney will have the kids club open during that time, so your kids can stay there while you go do some of these more adventurous things. But if you're wanting to do more of a family excursion, it's kind of harder to find those. While focusing on the Western, let's mention that normally those are cheaper because the port fees are just cheaper at those places. It's kind of ironic because you're actually stopping at more ports, but the port fees are less, so your fare's a little bit less. I do think Jamaica is beautiful. A lot of people like the Eastern itinerary because when you go to the Virgin Islands, there are a lot of mountainous terrain, and I kind of think Jamaica looks just like them.
Here we are in Jamaica. It's so pretty. It's 7 in the morning. Look how pretty. Oh my gosh. I didn't even know Jamaica looked like this. This is amazing.
Jamaica was really, really pretty when you were on the ship. If you're standing on the ship looking out at Jamaica, as a whole, it was gorgeous. So pretty. Once you got onto the island, it was a little sketchy, maybe I would say. It didn't feel like threatened for my life, but I wasn't 100% safe either. That's how I felt. I didn't feel 100% safe. We ported in Falmouth, and I just feel like it was a lot of like city stuff, like right in your face. And in order to go into the natural area of the island, you had to take some kind of vehicle, and that was a little scary. I'm not gonna lie. I was closing my eyes for a lot of it, and a lot of times my husband kept having to say to me, like, it's okay, we're okay, calm down. Like it was a little rough, but I survived. And once we got to where we were going, it was really pretty. It was just an adventure. Now, Grand Cayman is very pretty too, but I would say Grand Cayman is more beautiful under the water than above the water. When you go to Grand Cayman, the ship has to put anchor in and not dock at a port because of the coral that's around the island. So you actually take a tender boat over to the actual island. But a lot of people do their snorkeling here because of the reef, and it's super, super pretty. If you are a snorkeler and you are tight on money though, they do offer the Fury Catamaran sail and snorkel over in Cozumel, which saves quite a bit of money, and it is just as pretty. While Grand Cayman is beautiful under the water, I don't think it's worth the price difference between snorkeling in Grand Cayman and snorkeling in Cozumel. Western Caribbean itinerary. Lovely, 3 ports, lots of adventurous stuff to do, a great cruise. Now let's talk about the Eastern itinerary. The Eastern itinerary has less ports, which means more sea days. I do think that you have to cruise at least one time to figure out if you prefer sea days or port days. People kind of, it's surprising. They're pretty much like, you can draw the line between, like, there are people who are like, I want sea days, I want port days, which I think is kind of interesting. I don't know why I think that's interesting, but I'll tell you that I prefer sea days. My whole family prefers sea days. We pay to be on the ship. The cruise and the cruise ship is our vacation, not necessarily the ports that we go to. And also on sea days, Disney just does it better on the ship. There's a lot more entertainment, more events that you can attend to. Now the pools are more crowded because everyone has to be on the ship. There's no getting off. But Disney accommodates that very well by having a plethora of activities to keep you busy all day long. I also enjoy sea days better because I just like it when the wind is blowing and you just see ocean and you're moving, and I actually love when the ship rocks back and forth. I think that's super fun. So just in general, sea days I prefer. But I have done some really unique experiences while we stopped at port. I'm sure that if you have followed along with anything, that you will remember the hurricanes that happened last year, and because of that, Tortola, which is Disney's port, got decimated pretty much. Like the whole island was a wreck, and they just now reopened. So it's been almost an entire year that Disney, or anybody for that matter, has docked at Tortola, so they just went back to it. They have rebuilt some things. It's not exactly how it was, but it is somewhere you're able to stop at now. The Virgin Islands are spectacularly, is that a word? Spectacularly gorgeous. Like mountains on the water. Like, okay, if you were to picture paradise in your head, that's what you would picture. You would picture the Virgin Islands. That's what it is. It's flawless down there. Because it is so beautiful, a lot of the port adventures are focused on admiring the beauty. So therefore, there's not very many adventurous port adventures. Almost all the port adventures for the Eastern itinerary are like beach days. There's different beaches. Some are prettier than others. Some take a while to get to, while others are right there off the ship. But regardless of how you get to it, by taxi or walking or a van or a ferry, you're pretty much just hanging out on a beach all day. So if that's more your thing, instead of climbing up waterfalls, then the Eastern itinerary is going to be good for you. It's a lot more relaxing and it's beautiful. Did I mention it was beautiful? Did I say that yet? Because it is. It is gorgeous. Something I think is very popular on the Eastern itinerary is the tour of the baths. This is like rock cave formations down right by the ocean from volcanic rock that is hardened. It's very cool to go through, very pretty. It's kind of adventuresome, not compared to some of the other things, but for the Eastern itinerary, it's one of the most adventurous things you could do. It's very lovely. You can take a full day tour, a half day tour. You could just go there on your own, but that is something to highlight on the Eastern itinerary because it's something that I think everyone should see in their lifetime. Now there are places to snorkel there, and there's like private ships that you can rent out, and like do snorkeling, and they do have a zip line excursion. But because there's not as many offered, there's not as many spots available, so you're competing with everyone who wants to do those on the ship, so you might not get the excursion that you were hoping for unless you were one of the first ones to book it. Some people do think that the Eastern Itinerary has rougher seas because you're not surrounded by as much land as you are when you go towards Mexico. If that's something that you think might concern you, then I would, consider that for a hot second on whether or not that's something you want to deal with. But you're on the Dream, which has the stabilizers in this ship. It's very high tech. You barely feel the ship move. It shouldn't really be an issue. Last year when the hurricanes hit, our cruise was scheduled to go to the Eastern Caribbean. Then the hurricane hit and the Eastern Caribbean ports were gone. So they changed them all to Western itineraries. Not only was our cruise changed to a Western itinerary, but the cruises before had gotten canceled because of the hurricane. Well, lots of people rebooked, and they rebooked onto our ship. So our ship was completely full, and it was not the itinerary that we wanted. We still went on it because of scheduling, and the person who was watching our girls, that's when they had to come. So that's what happened. But it was not the cruise that we booked, not the cruise that we wanted. We still absolutely loved it. I did different things in Cozumel that time than the other times. We made the most of it. It was still really fun. And it is pretty. It's not like the Western Caribbean is ugly. It's not ugly. It's pretty. But Eastern, like I said, it's picturesque. It is just a feast for your eyes. That was funny. By the way, if this is your first time here, I don't normally sound like this. I'm getting over being sick. So don't think that this is how I talk all the time, because it's not. So don't be like, ooh, I'm not going to watch her anymore because she sounds like a robot. No, my throat hurts. So what would I choose if I had limitless funds and I could travel whenever I wanted to and it didn't make a difference? I would choose the Eastern Caribbean. But if really the Western is, well, I was going to say a close second, but let's just say it's second. Because that means you're on the Fantasy, which means you're on a 7-night cruise and not a 3 or a 4-night cruise. And so that just makes it better anyways. If you've been on both of them or one or the other, in the comments below, tell me your opinions on both. Let's have a conversation. Let people know what's better in your eyes, Western or Eastern itinerary. If you haven't checked out my channel yet, make sure you do so. Lots of nice things on there to look at. And I encourage you to check out the links for the giveaway. I will see you next time, cruisers. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Bye, y'all.